Hey guys, Cam Mayville and Mr. Paul Lucas here with Rug Rescue Podcast number 2. Mr. Paul Lucas, how you doing?
Doing great. Good to see you, Cam.
Well, it's good to see you too, buddy. And if everybody got a chance, you may have already seen podcast number 1, just doing a simple introduction about what this is about. And this is simply the calls that we get through the week. Certain ones we will pick to talk about that we think will be beneficial to you guys. We get asked all the time, how'd you handle this? How'd you handle that? Well, when we're in the Rug Room talking about things, which, by the way, don't forget, check out the Rug Room on Facebook, the Rug Room Live on Wednesday night, 7:30 Central, free education. But when we take these calls, we don't just throw out one answer. Matter of fact, we really don't throw out the answer at all to start with. We ask a lot of questions. And sometimes we don't really have a chance to tell you guys about all the questions we may ask in the Rug Room or even on the Wednesday night show. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to try to talk a little bit about that. And in this one, I had a call from someone out east and quite frantic. They were spinning a rug, and unfortunately, they did not diaper this rug. Now, the person who normally cleans would have done it, but he had to do something. You go to do something, all of a sudden another guy, oh, it'll be fine. You throw it in, pull it out, and oh man, you got a nightmare. And Paul, when that call comes through, they're frantic, they're freaking.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
they're thinking we have to buy a rug here.
Yeah. So I mean, not only do we have to find a way to solve the problem, but we also have to calm them down. And so when the call comes into me, the first thing I have to do, because a lot of times they don't tell me, is they say, Cam, I got dye everywhere. What the heck do I do? Now, I don't know about you, Paul, but the way I always start out with is, number one, was it already messed up? Did something happen already? And you're just going to try and fix it for the client. No. This happened. We spun the rug. Okay. Did you diaper the rug? Yep, we did. And the diaper moved, or no, we didn't diaper. I got to start finding out, okay, where's the migration at? How much is there? I also like to know, what did they clean with? Because, I start putting these things, do I have some dye release already in there sometimes? That could be a benefit. Because if the dye release is already in there, my mind goes to not going straight to reduction in any way. My mind goes to, okay, dye release went in first. They were using it through the cleaning. I bet if I just go with dye release and maybe some surfactant, maybe I grab LST, wool rug shampoo, something like that, and I get it on there right away, that is probably going to bust off pretty easily. If they didn't, then I'm going, okay, we're going to have to get the dye release on there. We're going to start working that in, see what it's going to do, start monitoring, and see what kind of development starts happening. And a lot of times I'm in text messaging too, back and forth with them. Did you get I got my dye release on, Cam, it's still not quite there, but it's almost gone. What should I do? And then lately, I got to tell you, Paul, and we've discussed this over and over, and I've told many people this, the problem reducing rug shampoo has been the savior majority of the time. And we've talked about this. I believe it's because of the reduction comboed up with that surfactant. It seems to work well. Now, my question to you is, when you get that call, are you starting off the same way I am? Are you starting, hey, what did you clean it with? How did you clean it? All that stuff? Or is that what you're doing?
Yes, we got to find out what's actually going on. So a lot of times I'll say, well, what is the fiber type? Because that's going to vary with what I recommend.
Yeah.
What's the construction? So I know that, are we dealing with a hand knotted rug? Are we dealing with a tufted rug? What's going on here? So I can envision what needs to be done. And then, I ask them if they had previous dye bleed. Did they test for dye bleeding to get the facts on that? And then I say, I know we got a lot to do here right away, but let's talk about how you diapered the rug. And sometimes they say, no, I didn't diaper it. Other times they'll say, yeah, I did. But they'll say, well, what did you diaper it with? And then we try to talk about that strategy, is that when we're spinning a rug in a centrifuge, we're throwing out all the water, but dyes by definition are water soluble. So if they're not set and bond it to that rug. They're going to go pass through the rug. And now sometimes the tattooing is only on the fringe. That changes things. Is it a cotton fringe? Is it a wool fringe? And then, we'll talk about how to do that. But often I will tell them to go ahead and use dye release, depending on what kind of fiber type it is, and to respin it with diapers and see if that'll work, because sometimes it does. Sometimes I'll say retreat it with anti-dye and spin it with that. And depending on what kind of rug they have and what the issue is, then we try to do that first, because both of those products are not damaging. They don't cause any chemical change. Right. They're safe, and they won't make things worse. Now, we go with problem reducing rug shampoo, which is often what I tell people to do. But again, that's a destructive chemical. So you are not washing the dye away, you're destroying the function of the dye by reduction, which sometimes has to be done. And so that's the purpose of that. So we got to gather some information to see where we started out, where we ended up, and now, what to do next to handle that situation.
Absolutely. And I want to point out a couple things about that, because some people may listen to what we're saying and they'll be like, well, why does that really matter? So let me give an example. If you call and you have a dye migration happen, let's say stamping, like in this case. Now, this was not a tufted rug. This was a handmade rug that it happened to. If you have a tufted one come in and it happens and you spun it and you got stamping, I may not want you to put that rug back in that spinner. So that's why we ask all these questions. I may end up with a very low mixture of just dye stripper, where we might spray the rug and clean it with a portable wand or something, because I may go, you know what, the backing's already bad from the pictures you're showing me. I don't want to roll the dice. Maybe there's some stenciling. I'm getting concerned about that starting to push through if we spin it again. The life of the rug may just be on the edge. Those are things that we're thinking about. On the crocking side, when Paul was talking about the diaper issue, look, painter's tarps are great to stop stamping, but the truth is, if you've got a rug, let's take some of these newer Harries rugs, or some of those Hamadans out there. You guys know some of those Hamadans will crock like crazy. I mean, it looks like you killed somebody on your wash floor sometimes. If you diaper that with a painter's tarp, chances are color is going to get through. So you may have to approach it where you have to change using not a painter's tarp, but thick towels. And you may even have to double up on those towels. So there's different things that we're looking at on how we want to approach. Also, the mixing ratios. I don't tell everyone to go straight to 8 ounces of problem reducing rug shampoo when when we have an issue. I'm looking at the pictures, I'm examining them. I'm also asking, did the rug dry? How long has it been sitting since this happened to you calling me? I'm listening to all those things, and I'm trying to put these little pieces together and go the safest route possible, like Paul was talking about, because we know reduction does destruction. It just does. It destroys color. So we have to be cautious with that. And if I can find a safe way to do it without causing any other issues, that's what I'm going to do. Now, in this case, it was pretty straightforward. We didn't really have any crocking colors. It just happened to stamp. And so dye release and a low mixture of problem reducing rug shampoo took care of the problem. Nope. I mean, it was boom, instant. But the thing we've got to remind people, once we get that problem solved, Paul, and we both kind of touched on it a little bit, don't repeat it. I have had it happen where we got it fixed, and I'll be damned if I didn't get a call 5 minutes later. They spun it the same exact way, and it happened again. It's like, no. You've got to think differently. You know it's going to do something. So you got to change it. And that may be using a flash extractor, water claw, wand. You just got to change your approach a little bit,
So going along with what you were saying, and a lot of these guys are frantic. I mean, they're just, their heart's beating out of their chest. They've already called the wife, said, I'm not going to make it home for dinner. I'm going to be working all night. Right. So, part of it is we got to deal with that too. It'd be helpful to people. But I usually take a few minutes on these type of phone calls. I wasn't involved with this one here, but on the ones I get, and say, let's think about how we can prevent that from happening again. And it goes back to the basics. And I know a lot of rug cleaners don't do color fast testing because they're so busy, they feel like they don't have time for it. And they may clean 100 rugs or 500 rugs and not have a bleeding issue. So they kind of say, well, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or I'm not worried about bleeding anymore. And then they get a bad one. So I try to encourage them to go back to the fundamentals. And if they get a rug in that looks, unique or different or scary, or it's high value, just take that extra time to do the color fast, test for crocking and test for bleeding. They're two different things. And consider the idea of setting color and offering that as an option to their client. Now, sometimes a lot of my cleaners just say, well, if it needs it, I just do it. I don't even say anything to them because they don't care how I do it. They just want it done. I understand that. But you can also say, this is a pre-existing condition. Your rug bleeds color. Did you know that? Or do you want me to fix that? And you can say, here's what it costs to set those colors. And there's added revenue. Now, I'm not just talking about lining your pockets with money, because you have to do extra services and purchase products to set those colors. So there's additional cost and time. And that budget goes towards the extra work that you have to do. It also opens up communication between the carpet owner, the rug owner, and yourself, and really helps establish that they're dealing with an expert. So sometimes that's appropriate. A lot of guys tell me, well, we've cleaned this rug, 4 or 5 times before and never had this issue before. And now it's snuck up on us. But those things happen. Something changed with that rug. They probably got a pet and things are different now. So, but we also want to not only get out of the hot water by fixing the rug, we just got to call them, but, make the business model souped up. So it's more efficient, performs better, and maybe a little more profitable too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. So a couple things I want to end on this, and we'll transition out of this podcast. A lot of people don't understand what stamping is. When does it happen? We're not talking about your typical crocking and bleeding. Stamping happens mainly 2 situations. One, you've got the rug rolled up in the spinner, and the G-force of that spinner ends up stamping one color onto another area, normally in the ivory area or something. All of a sudden you unroll it, boom, you've got a flower, and you're not supposed to have a flower. So, or you have the design of the rug. You see this a lot of times when people diaper rugs. They pull the rug out, and you can see the design of the rug on the diaper. That's kind of an example. On a rug sucker, typically it's created by airflow. The constant flow of that air pulling and pulling and pulling, and then you'll get lines on the rug, and then you have to remove those. Those are a couple different scenarios of stamping. Sometimes you will test, and everything will tell you that this rug isn't going to do anything, and you'll get stamping. Stamping is weird. It happens when you don't think it will. So you also got to be able to trust your gut. You really got to be able to look at rugs. If you feel that there's a possibility of it happening, then go with your gut, diaper it. I'll give you an example, a Nain. A lot of Nains have issues. There's a good chance that they may stamp. So, cover yourself, protect yourself, go with your gut, and do what you need to do. Have plenty of diaper. We have, Paul, at my shop, we've got a bunch of painter's tarps. We've got a lot of towels. And frankly, I want to have double the amount, because there's times where it's one of those days and you go through a lot more than you would think. So that's an important aspect to think about. The other thing, Paul's already mentioned it, test. And then the last thing I will add to this, one of the biggest things I see happen is people are spinning rugs for way too long. They have their spinner set at 6, 7, 8 minutes. They turn it on, they walk away. They do something else. And spinners are great. Hey, look, labor time, they're saving us a lot of money. We're supposed to be able to walk away. But there's a lot of times I don't spin rugs over a minute and a half, because I know that there could be possible issues with it. I might rinse longer on my wash floor and not rinse in my spinner, because I can pump 35, 40 gallons per minute in my spinner. But there's times that doesn't make sense to do. There's times where I don't want to spin the rug to get every little bit of water I can out of there. I need to get it in, I need to get it out, and do it quickly. And if you do that, your stamping problems are gonna go way, way down. Rug sucker, you kind of don't have a choice because you've got to be on it for a while. You hope that the diaper's going to handle it, which it won't save you every time, but you should practice using that diaper more and more. Paul, now problem reducing rug shampoo, so everybody knows, problem reducing rug shampoo and dye release were what saved the day on that particular handmade rug. So I want people to remember to have those on your shelf. They are a game changer. They save your butt when you need it too. That was a good call. We saved that rug. Everything went fine. Within 20, 30 minutes, I had a call back. Cam, it looks beautiful. Everything is good. Thank you. And that went well. So that was that call. And do you have anything to add before we close out?
I think we did a great job on this discussion. So we're good.
All right. Well, guys, if you ever have any questions, you can put the questions in the comment section, and we will do our best to monitor this. We'll answer these questions. And if you have something you want us to talk about, or you have an issue, call us, and you don't mind us, bringing it on our next podcast. We'll discuss how we handled your problem. We would love to be able to discuss it and put names with it, but we don't want to ever take people's pictures or names and put them on here without permission. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to just have a discussion. So guys, podcast number 2 for the rug rescue. I really appreciate you guys checking us out. This is new to us. Please bear with us. We're going to try to dial this in and get a little bit better each and every time. But until podcast number 3, take care, keep it clean. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.